Hi, guys. So, this is a reading of Tangerine of Wednesday, November 29th. This is in the Tangerine novel study. Remember, this is a multi step process. First, you read that section either with me or on Sora. Then, you answer 3 of the 8 analysis questions in the Google form, and then you go to Flipgrid. You view what other people have already produced, and then you reply with your own video talking about the 3 questions that you answered. Let's go ahead and get started. Wednesday, November 29th. I stayed out of school again today. I got dressed at about 10 and went out back to sit for a while. Mom came out with a telephone and handed it to me. Another girl, she said. A different one. I waited until she was back in to press the button. Hello? Paul Fisher? Yes. This is Teresa Cruz. Teresa, I'm really sorry to hear about what happened. She interrupted me. Her tone was all business. Yeah, I know that. Look, I have to tell you something. Don't you be coming to Louise's funeral. I stammered. Okay. Henry says you're talking about coming, but Tino and Victor and those guys are saying some bad stuff, so you'd better not show your face at Louise's funeral. I'm calling to tell you that. All right. I don't want any more bad stuff to happen, especially not at the funeral. No, of course not. So I'm just telling you. Then she hung up. I sat there with my mouth wide open. They knew. They knew everything. Teresa, Tino, Tomas, and his brother, Victor, and the others, they all knew the truth. They knew that Luis had come looking for Eric. Sorry, guys, my page. There you go. Luis had come looking for Eric last Tuesday, and they knew what happened to him at the school. They knew that he didn't get hit by any frozen tree branch. How did they know? I jumped up and hurried through the gate to the front of the house. I turned left and headed down the sidewalk. I had to get away. I had to think. My mind was racing with questions. Did Luis tell someone about it? Of course he did. If he told me about it, he told other people too. Did I really think I could keep this secret from them all? Does everybody in Tangerine blame me now? Am I just as guilty as Eric? I was all the way down at the entrance pond before I stopped. I stood there and stared at the dark water until I finally understood. And it was so very simple. There's no big mystery here. The truth about Luis is obvious to all of the people around him. Their lives are not made up of bits and pieces of versions of the truth. They don't live that way. They know what really happened, period. Why would that seem so mysterious to me? I sat at the bank and stared at the lifeless water. After a few minutes, I heard a noise behind me and turned. A little boy on a little bike had pulled up about 10 feet away. He looked up to be about 5 years old, not old enough to be out on the road by himself. He sat there staring at me, astride his red 20-inch bike. Then he pointed at the pond and said, They say there's a gator in there. I looked back at the pond. I wanted him to leave, but he went on. They say a gator came out of there last year and ate a kid. I turned back toward him. Oh, yeah? Who says that? My mom and dad. I shook my head. Well, forget it. That didn't happen. He shook his head right back. My mom and dad say it did. I thought about that. I thought about my own mom and dad, and I looked him right in the eye. Then they're lying to you. They're telling you a story just so that they can keep you scared. They want you to be scared. Do you understand? He stiffened. My mom and dad don't tell me stories. I rose up onto my knees so that we were eye to eye. Oh no? Did they ever tell you a story about a kid who went swimming and right after he ate, he got cramps and drowned? Yeah. Well, did you ever meet that kid? No. Okay. Did they ever tell you about a kid who climbed a utility pole to get back his kite and he got electrocuted? Yeah. And did you ever meet that kid? How could I meet him if he's dead? How about a kid who got bitten by a stray dog and he got rabies and he started foaming at the mouth? They ever tell you about him? And did you ever meet him? The boy straightened out the front wheel of his bike and started to back away. My mom and dad don't lie to me. I got onto my feet. My voice was raising. No? How about this one? Did they ever tell you about the kid who went out to play in football in a thunderstorm and got struck by lightning and he got killed? He shook his head. Or this one. Did they ever tell you about the kid who climbed into a tree with a sharp pair of clippers in his hand and he fell out of the tree and he stabbed himself? Did they tell you about either one of those kids? Did you meet either of them? No. Well, I did. I met both of them. He continued to back away, and I shouted after him, "What about this one? Did you ever hear about this kid? This stupid kid who wouldn't listen to anybody, and he stared at a solar eclipse and he went blind? Did you ever hear about him? Did you ever meet him?" The poor kid pedaled away as fast as he could. I didn't watch him go. I bent over and looked down at my own murky reflection in the water. Like the final words of a ghost story, I muttered, "Well, you have now." All right, ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like Paul is going through it. There's definitely a lot happening around him, and I feel like I really wish he could just talk to an adult about this. He's internalizing a lot of this and trying to deal with it by himself, but I really think he could benefit from talking to somebody slightly more mature that could help him out. All right, story aside, the next part is to access the analysis questions. The doc ends up looking like this. There are 8 questions. You answer 3 of them in the Google Doc or the Google form that looks just like this. You put your basic information, then you answer those 3 questions, and then you will end up over on Flipgrid where you'll record yourself talking about the 3 questions that you answered. I know it seems a little repetitive. You're wondering, why do I answer the same 3 questions twice? Well, one part of it is for me, it's so that I can see it. The other part is for us to actually try and mimic those class discussions that we would normally have if we were all physically at school. All right, guys, I'll see you again for the next reading.